Good evening. My name's Kevin Quinn. I'm a lieutenant from Ocean Township, and we are live here in the studio on NJ Law. This is our August show, and believe it or not, this is the start of our 8th season here on NJ Law. Hopefully you've been hanging out with us all 8 years, or 7 plus. If you haven't, and you're a new listener, please, viewer, please stay with us. Hopefully this will be very exciting and interesting to you. Our number here in the studio is 681-3331. That's 681-3331. Every once in a while, that phone number will flash up on your screen. If you have a question for myself or my guests, please feel free to pick up the phone and give us a call. We try to answer as many questions as we can, and we do it obviously honestly and without reservation, almost always, and it'll be good. For the next hour, you're going to be listening to myself speak to my special guest, Terry Farley. He's the director of the Division of Criminal Justice for the state of New Jersey. That's a whole mouthful, and we're going to find out exactly what the Division of Criminal Justice is. From my standpoint in law enforcement, I know that it's the top drawer, so to speak, of the law enforcement community. Terry ran in here from Trenton today, and I really appreciate your coming, Terry, as always. Mr. Farley has also been a guest here on NJ Law previously, so you may recognize him. If you don't, you're going to find out a whole lot of things about how criminal justice in the state of New Jersey works, and so will I, and I'm sure all the chiefs are dialing right now to look for grant funds. And if you're my chief, don't call. I'll find out for you during the break. Terry, again, thanks so much for coming down. I always appreciate our talks, and I promise I won't fight you for talking time. Otherwise, Debbie behind me will back the camera into the back of my head, and I'll have a big bruise. The Division of Criminal Justice in this state, I think what we need to do is maybe describe to the folks, first of all, exactly what it is, where it is in the hierarchy, so to speak, of state government, and what you're responsible for. Now, that should probably keep you busy for 45 minutes.
The next couple of hours. Kevin, as you know, New Jersey has a very unique constitution. Among the things that are unique, it gives the Attorney General all of the law enforcement powers in the state. She is, in fact, the Chief Law Enforcement Officer. In 1970, the legislature formed the Division of Criminal Justice in response to a public perception that the state was overrun by organized crime and was awash in official corruption. In the Criminal Justice Act, I, or the other directors of criminal justice, have the Attorney General's law enforcement powers. So in effect, we oversee all law enforcement in the state, the 21 county prosecutors, the approximately 23 police academies throughout the state, 560-some municipal police departments. We set policy, we do training, we have our own investigation and prosecution staff, we handle cases of statewide significance, we handle cases that are conflicts for local prosecutors in the various counties, we handle appeals of matters of statewide significance, and have 20-some different units that handle cases of anything from official corruption to organized crime. You name it, we pretty much do it. When I explain that, especially out of the state of New Jersey, people just look at me and say, well, we know you're making that up, because that doesn't happen anyplace in the United States, and it does not happen anyplace in the United States but here in New Jersey.
Well, with such broad powers, people call up all the time and might ask, let's say you have a local police department or a local police officer that is under investigation for something. Is that always defer to your office, or might it be at, let's say, the county or local level, and then? Again,
New Jersey has this unique constitutional situation, whereas the Attorney General and I, in her place, are the Chief Law Enforcement Officer in the state. The county prosecutor is the Chief Law Enforcement Officer in each county and has basically the same powers within the county that the Attorney General has statewide. Mm-hmm. Most cases like that would go to the county prosecutor's office unless for some reason they were unable or had a conflict they would handle those type of cases, although many times they'll come to us, we might refer them back to the county prosecutor, or the county prosecutor might call us and say, listen, for this reason or that reason, we think you should supersede our office and take charge. Many times we'll do joint investigation where there's maybe a question of a conflict or something like that, but it's much more efficient from the manpower standpoint for some of our investigators and lawyers to work with the local county prosecutors, investigators, and lawyers.
How about the Police Training Commission you mentioned? And we certainly know, I don't know if the folks at home know, that all police officers are required to be trained for X amount of time and certain subject matter, et cetera, et cetera. You oversee also the Police Training Commission.
Yes, I am the chairman of the State Police Training Commission. As I said, we oversee the 23 police academies in the state. We set the curriculum. We rule on issues of expulsions, for example, and things like that, and have a board made up of members of various agencies. The state police have representatives, the county sheriffs have representatives, county prosecutor, right on down the line, including the PBA has representatives on there. And as I said, we set policies, set the curriculum, and handle disciplinary matters if someone is expelled or things like that, and do the policy matters for that, and are constantly looking at rules and regulations and promulgating changes so that we can constantly upgrade the quality of law enforcement training in the state.
You know what I want to do, Terry? Let me just grab this call. John, do we have you on the phone?
You certainly do.
Hi, how are you?
Very well, thank you.
Do you have a question for us?
My question is this. Number one, I would assume that anyone who breaks the law is a criminal per se. And one of the things that you're mentioning here, breaking of the law, and I don't quite understand. It seems that there's a law covering the whole state of New Jersey pertaining to people who ride the bicycles. They are supposed to follow the same rules as the automobile person does. However, I have yet to hear or see of anyone being arrested for violating these laws. For example, very, very, very few people use a headlight on the bike. They don't use a tail light. They ride against the traffic. They ride two on a bicycle where they shouldn't be. And I just don't understand it. And if something happens, of course, it's the driver of the automobile who's automatically guilty. Now, last week or a week ago, the press or the Co-Star had a full-page item on this. Mm-hmm. But yet I don't understand why we're not publicizing this, why the police are not taking actions against people who ride against the traffic and do every other thing. And another thing that I see young parents driving, or I should say pumping a bicycle, and they have a trailer with two young kids in the back. And I'm sure they don't have seat belts in. And all of these things are they are absolutely potential murderous items.
Well,
do you have a response to that?
I certainly can try, John.
All right.
First of all, I understand your...
May I hang up and listen to you?
Well, certainly.
Okay, I'll hang up and listen to you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for listening.
All righty.
Right.
Thanks for your call, by the way, John. We always appreciate them. First of all, there are laws that do cover bicycles, and bicycle is covered like any other vehicle in the state of New Jersey. If there is an accident, as far as who's at fault, that can be adjudged by the facts in the case, and the officer will... it's not automatically that the driver of the vehicle is automatically responsible. That wouldn't be fair, and it certainly isn't that way. We try, especially I know in Ocean, we try when the warm weather starts coming and everybody's out on the bikes to start beefing up our patrols as far as bicycle safety is concerned. The helmet law, riding two people on a bike obviously is not only unsafe but also illegal. The trailer thing you mentioned, John, some of those are okay because they do have restraints in them, and as long as the child has a helmet on, that would make it somewhat safe. But I do know that everybody gets on a bike when the warm weather comes, and it certainly is a problem, something that we do need to address. Sometimes, I won't use a budget as a excuse, but sometimes there's just not enough of us out there to be able to do that. We also send officers out on bicycles in Ocean Township, and many other shore communities have begun to do that. It's a great way of patrolling, and it's also a way for them to interact with some of those folks who are out there on bicycles. Terry, I know that it's not necessarily a statewide first problem, but I don't know if you have any comment.
Well, I have two. Number one, the State Office of Highway Traffic Safety has bicycle programs and things like that, and does a lot to try to publicize this. We understand John's frustration in it, that it is a problem, and probably the perception is that we in law enforcement don't do enough about it. And to be perfectly frank, because of priorities and budgets you mentioned are an important consideration, some things in the scale of matters, the most important things obviously get addressed first. The good news is, from John's standpoint, he's not correct in assuming that if someone is involved in an accident with a bicycle, the driver of the automobile is always at fault. Those are the times, unfortunately, that the police most often deal with improper operation of bicycles. And those people are often cited, and they don't have any claim against the driver of the car if, in fact, they're violating the laws, just like if they were improperly driving a car. But I can certainly understand John's frustrations, and if we had unlimited manpower and unlimited money, I could assure you we'd be out there spending as much time on bicyclists as we do on murderers or rapists.
Yeah, and with all motor vehicle type and even walking problems, there's so many things that we even see, and I always see them when I'm not in a police patrol car. I'm sure you do too. And either that or I'm on the way somewhere to a call that's important, and wish I wasn't going to this, because I'd really like to talk to that guy. But John, again, thank you for watching, and thank you for your call. We appreciate the thoughts, and Tay, maybe when I go back to work, I'll try to refamiliarize the guys with the bicycle stuff, and see if we can't do a little bit about it. But I'm sure John, living in Spring Lake, is trying to get down Ocean Avenue or something, and keeps not running into the bikes, but having a problem with them. Terry, just to step back a second, we were talking about training for police, and obviously it's an ongoing thing. I've been a cop 18 years. I'm still going to schools, and every time I go to school I learn something new. But backing up a little bit, people trying to get in a law enforcement profession, because it's kind of tough, unless you go to State Police Academy and you're put right in before they hire, or when they hire you, and or you go to a local department and they hire you and send you to police academy. Other than that, for years the door was closed to anyone else, and you folks started a program within the last, year or so, the alternate route? 2 years. That's very interesting, and people ask me all the time, and I've been spouting it, and I don't know if it's getting out enough, so maybe you could just talk about it for a second.
We have tried a pilot program I think it started in 2 academies, and we'll go to 3 or 4 this year, that we call the alternate route program. Many, many people, as you said, are looking to get into the law enforcement profession and just have not had the luck or been high enough on the civil service tests to be appointed. It gives some other people a chance, at least, to get onto a law enforcement agency. What happens is, we have worked out arrangements with some community colleges throughout the state, and in fact, they pay their way through school and for the police academy. They don't have a guarantee of a job as the people who are sent to the academies by the local municipalities, or those who are sent to the State Police Academy by the state police. But it creates a list for those towns who are looking for people who are already fully trained. The benefit to the person taking the course is it gives them an option of getting on that they might never have had before. The benefit for the towns is they don't have to spend the $3,000 to $5,000 to $8,000 it might cost to put a police officer through the training themselves. So there's benefits both for the municipalities that can take advantage of that, and for those people in the alternate route program. There are some limitations because of our civil service laws throughout the state, however. In civil service departments, generally speaking, you have to take the civil service test. You have to be within a certain range of those who passed. The rule of 3 applies, as you know. The municipality must hire one person out of the top 3, and it goes down the line that way. So it doesn't fit everybody's situation in New Jersey, but it is at least an option. We've had a great deal of success with the people who've graduated and being placed in jobs, and the commission this year reviewed the entire program, felt very confident that it was working, and are looking to take the next step and to talk to the Civil Service Commission about making exceptions. Some of the places, for example, we think it would be greatly important are the larger cities in the state that need more and more police officers, don't have the ability to get the numbers they need, don't have the money to pay for the training, and we're looking for ways to take some of those larger civil service departments and work in some of these graduates. But the pilot program has worked well enough that the commission has voted to expand it and is constantly reviewing it.
Do you see a time when, I don't think it would be a problem, but I think I see, well, take a town that's thinking of hiring an officer, and they know that sometime during 1995 they need to put an officer on. In Ocean Township, when we hire a patrolman or a patrol woman, they are on probation for a year from the date of hire. Maybe I might say to myself, well, you know, if I wait for one of these alternate route people, now they've already been through the police academy, so there's at least 3 months or so that I can extend the probation, so to speak, because I won't hire them until they graduate. Right. Do you see that as a problem, or no?
I think that's probably on the scale of 1 to 10. That's a 1. It's down the bottom. It's not. I've never heard that as a consideration, using it to extend somebody's probation. I don't think that's a realistic problem.
Well, I'm also.
It does, in fact, have that practical effect, though. You're absolutely right. You have that 1-year probation, and 1 year is from the time of hire. In the normal situation, the date of hire is the date before you start the academy. So it does extend it that normal 3 months or so, but I don't think that's a consideration ever.
I also see it as a chance for a department to kind of look at the person
Absolutely.
they're thinking of hiring, which is absolutely a benefit from our standpoint, because you get to see how somebody's doing in the police academy instead of, I hate to use the term taking potluck, but if you take somebody and you throw them in the academy and then a week later, there's a big problem. That can certainly put a dent everywhere, because then if you start the whole process over again, the budget considerations and everything else. Now, do these people have to take, the towns that use this chief's test, the state chief's test, do they still require those folks to do that testing procedure, do you know? Or?
I don't think so, Kevin, and you know, I'm not 100% sure about that, but I don't believe that's a consideration, since they've already gone through, you have to have a certain amount of college credits. I think it's 64 before you can even get into the academy under the alternate route program. And I think the college credits, with having gone through the full academy, substitutes for any of the testing, the normal testing procedure, although obviously the medical and psychological and other things that we use to weed out candidates who aren't qualified to be police officers, those take effect. But I don't think the academic examination is required.
Okay, well, and as I said, it's definitely a benefit to the towns that need officers, especially with the way the budgets are. It's very tough, and you do get a chance. And obviously you're getting someone who is interested in.
That's another thing. You get somebody who is absolutely interested and wants that job as a police officer, to the point where they're willing to go out and take the chance to spend the money on the college credits, to spend the money to go through the academy. You know that person really wants to be a cop. Yeah,
and it is a real hardship on them. I mean, I have to salute anybody that's been through that program, because it takes a big chunk out of you, you know, and that's it's not like you go to the police academy during the day and work somewhere else at night.
No, it's pretty tough.
It certainly carries through. You know what we're going to do is take a short break, And hopefully you folks at home will stay tuned. 681-333, how many threes did I say? Oh, 681-3331 is our number here in the studio. If you want to give us a call, please do. In the meantime, we're going to take a short break. You can go get a soda from the refrigerator or something, and please come back and join us. We'll be right back.
An estimated 10,000 motorists will lose their lives this year because they neglected to buckle up. Seatbelt use will reduce the risk of fatal injury by nearly 50%. New Jersey law requires front seat occupants and children under 5 to be secured properly at all times. Seatbelt awareness is about the law, but most importantly, it's about life. Buckle up. The life you save may be your own.
What's Asbury Park's best kept secret? It's the Boys and Girls Club of Monmouth County, and it's open to boys and girls ages 6 to 18 from all backgrounds. Our programs and services focus on developing the leadership skills needed for our youth to become responsible citizens by providing educational, vocational, recreational, and cultural programs. Membership dues are only $1 per year, so there's no reason not to join the positive place for kids.
All right, we're back. Hopefully you are. I think there's somebody still at the refrigerator. We'll wait for you. Okay. You saw some statistics on the screen when we were taking a break. It gives you an idea of what the Division of Criminal Justice is up to. But you know what? It comes better from right from the horse's mouth, so to speak, and I don't mean that in the most respectful way. I mean that. What we're going to do is talk a little bit about what the division does aside from, we talked a little bit about training, and that was basically it. But obviously there's a vast resource of information that we haven't even tapped, which I'm going to allow you to tap now, and give us a little bit more of an idea of what the division's about, what they're doing, and especially the interagency cooperation, I think, is probably the biggest boon to law enforcement now, and I like what I'm hearing, I like what I'm seeing in the state, and I think we're doing so much better than probably any other agencies, which shall remain nameless, with the interagency cooperation. But I'd kind of like you to give you the floor, Terry, and speak about some of the areas that you guys investigate and what's up with them.
I'm just going to step back 1 second and talk about the cooperation, because there's no doubt in my mind, based on the interviews before I was offered this job, that I had hopefully a reputation in my prior law enforcement experience of having the ability to get law enforcement agencies to cooperate. And I think that was probably the biggest asset I brought to the division. And we immediately started to capitalize on that. One of the first things I did when I was there is to look for volunteers amongst our investigators to go into a special operations group. And my definition to those who wanted to apply was, we're going to do a lot of things, and we're going to do real cop work, and we're going to get out there and work with other agencies. And anybody interested in doing those things and not knowing any more, sign up, and we'll see whether we think you're qualified to do that. And we had a tremendous response. And we've started to, because of certainly budget considerations on our part, budget considerations in the state police, in prosecutors' offices, the Alcoholic Beverage Control Commission, started to look for ways we could get the most bang for the buck, quite frankly, Kevin, across the board in law enforcement. First thing we did, knowing the division of ABC had taken such hits over the last couple of years in employees and budget, and knowing there had been so many complaints from local police agencies and county prosecutors that they needed help in that area, the first thing we tried to do across the board and around the state was to look at the underage drinking problem. We started to take complaints about particular areas, and especially in the summertime when there are more and more college kids home and over the holidays and stuff like that. And we started a statewide underage drinking program. We advertised that we were going to do it. We let the bars know it. We let the kids know it. And we started a thing last year called Operation Summer that was highly successful. We went to literally every resort area from the shore to the mountains in New Jersey, looked primarily at places that had complaints been lodged against, and made hundreds of arrests, numerous administrative charges against the bars. And the thing that I think most important, I know based on anecdotal information, police officers telling me about their kids' reaction to it, other parents, teenagers talking to me, college students, I know we saved a number of lives. That's an intangible end result that we were really looking for, to convince the kids, A, you can't get behind the wheel of a car having any alcohol, and as you know, our law does not permit that at all for anyone under 21. We have a zero tolerance. Secondly, it convinced a lot of young folks that if they were going to drink, you better not do it in places that have a liquor license, because those people are going to be more alert to phony ID and things like that, and we were going to be more alert, and you would suffer consequences. And the consequences are severe, including the loss of their driver's license. As you know, both of us growing up, nothing could hurt you more than mom or dad, or certainly the police, taking away your driver's license. So we've had a tremendous impact, I think, in that regard, and it gave an opportunity for our special operations group to work with the state police and the ABC inspectors. We've gone into several other projects where we have put investigators from the Division of Criminal Justice alongside troopers. We have a unit in the state called the Cargo Theft Unit. I had a number of people who had a lot of experience working the waterfront and that type of organized criminal activity, hijacking, and we put a number of investigators into the state police Cargo Theft Unit. It's had tremendous effect. I put more investigators from the Division of Criminal Justice into our official corruption unit, the investigative end, which was primarily the state police before. Now we have troopers again working side by side with state investigators and being overseen by Division of Criminal Justice Deputy Attorney Generals who prosecute those cases. So that, to me, is probably the most significant thing we could or ever will be able to do. And if we leave a heritage at the division, I think the cooperation between the law enforcement agencies, and it goes right on down, county prosecutors have been fabulous in doing this, local police agencies. I haven't been turned down literally in anything that I've requested, and I've tried to use our people where it could help the local municipalities and the counties handle their jobs the best. One of the areas the prosecutors came and talked to me about early on, we used to at one time, when we had a much, much larger staff, handle all criminal appeals to the appellate division and to the Supreme Court. And over the years, as the budget was cut back, we dwindled to a very small number of lawyers in our appellate section and had to be extremely selective in the cases we took, had to be of absolute statewide significance on a major criminal issue that could impact the entire state. I've added more people to the appellate section to try to relieve the county prosecutors of the burden that they had to pick up in the last few years. Another area that New Jersey has been in the forefront, New Jersey was the first state ever to have a statewide bias crimes and community relations unit. We've expanded that greatly. Both the governor and the attorney general requested that I look at that area in particular. They have great interest in that area, and we did. We expanded the unit, and we work with those counties like Monmouth County. John Kay had the first county-wide bias crimes unit in the United States. Gives us an advantage of having the local prosecutor being able to work on those kind of situations. But we'll go into the counties and work with the counties that have one, and the counties that don't, we supplement their law enforcement abilities. We just had a recent great success. There was a lot of publicity in the last month or so about a case in Middlesex County that one of our young investigators, on his own time, noticed something that he felt was wrong, followed up